Am I the a-hole for turning away a young child for my son's birthday who bullies him? Excuse the title. I figured blunt was the best method here. My son just turned 8. We had a birthday party for him Saturday. He invited some friends from class, including Kyle. I did not know Kyle was cousins with this other boy in their class, Josh, but Josh has been horrible to my son for a while now. The poor kid has gone through a lot. His baby sister died, then his dad leaves him and his mom. My son has a baby brother, and he has both me and my husband, his dad, still in one home. So he has become a target for Josh's hurt and anger. It started off when they went to virtual learning last September. My son would say things about Josh. I spoke to the teacher and she said she was doing everything to correct Josh and protect my son. And then in May, their school decided to test out going back to in-person learning all day. While there, Josh was nasty to my son and made the entire month a living hell for my son, and I was on the school's ass about it. I put in for a class transfer but was denied because they were dealing with it. When they returned to school a few weeks ago, Josh was still targeting my son. So anyway, Kyle's mom showed up to the party Saturday with Josh. I was confused and asked what was going on. She explained he was her nephew, etc., etc., and she was hoping it would help everyone if he was included since everything going on. I said no way, that he was not invited, and given the way he treats my son, he was not coming in. She argued with me, but I stood firm. She and I got along well before this, which is why her being his aunt shocked me, because you would expect it to come up when she knew about the situation. But now she's saying I was an a-hole to a little boy, and should have known kindness and understanding. My son freaked out when he saw Josh at our house and asked if he was staying, and he was so relieved he wasn't. Am I the a-hole here? I feel bad for the kid, but feel my only loyalty is to my son. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. For starters, it was very presumptuous of her to show up with a +1 when she was not given a +1. She also put you in a position where you needed to choose to turn away a kid who is having a hard time, or force your son to put up with his tormentor in his own home. Neither choice is going to be the right one, and the onus is on her for forcing that on you. This is the best way I've ever seen this written. Excellent, thought-out response. Hope you're not the a-hole. I'm sorry everyone was even put in this position to begin with. It wasn't helping anything. Accepting the child into the party would teach him that actions don't have consequences, and refusing him just adds fuel to the fire. This was a no-win situation that you were forced into. Not the a-hole. But get the police involved instead of the school. You'll see results faster. Would that work? Surely with such young children their hands are tied, figuratively. Not an expert on this at all, hence why I'm asking. Not with the type of torment my son deals with. Varies a lot depending on where you are. I don't think you are the a-hole for saying no, but I think it's a missed opportunity. Turning him away put a bigger target on your son's back, although showing up on your door with him was a jerk move from the aunt. Including him would have given you the opportunity to see their interactions and see if this relationship could be salvaged. Plus, you're there to monitor if things don't go well. I've had my son invite kids who were horrible to him over to our house, helped them find some common ground and got them to be friends. No more bullying. This kid is obviously going through a lot in his life and is handling it how kids do, by acting like an a-hole. Extending him some kindness will go further in this case. I have to disagree. It's his son's home. His home should be a safe space. He was freaking out when Josh showed up, and if Opie had let Josh stay seeing her son in distress, we would have jumped down her throat for refusing to protect her child at his home. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for airing dirty laundry at a family party? I cut my mom out of my life last year. Our relationship was broken beyond repair years ago. The short story is she and my dad broke up when I was a baby. When I was 2, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he fought to stay alive and survived until 2 months before my 7th birthday. My mom resented the hell out of him. She said he should have let go so I could have loved another man as dad and not be weighed down by my love for him. The first time she said it, I was 10, and her husband told her that I had told him I didn't want or love him, and he would never be my dad. She did not like hearing that, and ranted to me about how selfish my dad was, and said that he destroyed both our lives. Because it meant she always had to watch me suffer, and push away a man who would be a wonderful father if I allowed it. She said it 7 more times after, and I remember each one. Her saying that is the reason I'm done with her. My aunt's birthday was 3 weeks ago. I showed up for my aunt and avoided my mom, but she sought me out, asked me if we could talk, and I said no. She told me she deserved more than I gave her, that her husband deserved more than I gave him, that they were my parents and I was treating them like strangers. I just told her to buzz off. Things escalated and I ended up telling a room full of people that I would never forgive her for calling my dad selfish for wanting to be with me, to survive long enough for me to remember him. I told her my life would have been better with him than with her, and that I had no desire to reconcile, so she needed to just leave me alone and forget I existed. I apologized to my aunt for the outburst, but she understood. My mom tried to follow me afterward, and said I made a scene at someone else's party and it was a childish way to behave. My uncle, married to aunt, was also pissed that I was so vocal. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If your mom is so disturbed by people knowing what she said, it's because she knows it's messed up. Also, you apologized to your aunt. It is not like you planned it. So you're in the clear to me, even if her husband is upset. But that's out of love if it makes sense. Not the a-hole. Yeah, it was mom who caused a scene here. Opie was just nailing the coffin on it. Not the a-hole. If anything, you actively tried to avoid a scene. And it sounds like your mom pursued you until she got one. Sounds kind of like an intentional manipulation of the situation on her part so that the family would take sides. Yes, mom figured he has to talk to me now. And what's he going to do about it? Well, she found out. Good for Opie. Everyone sucks here. Let me be clear that I don't think you're to blame for your relationship with your mom. And from what you've said, I think your feelings are completely justified. Your mother said some really harsh things, and she's really making it about her. She's the one being selfish. That said, maybe you picked the wrong venue to unleash on her, because you essentially made a birthday party about you. And also, you're the one who had to do damage control. Mom followed Opie around though. How is being badgered and not having backup Opie's fault? Next story. Am I the a-hole for siding with my stepdaughter's dad against my wife and exposing her lie? I, male 37, have been married to my wife Regina for 3 years. And I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter named Becky. She's the loveliest and has the most generous heart. Her dad, Regina's ex-husband, Brandon, is a nice dude, and we get along just fine due to the fact that we see each other often, and also because Becky joins us for activities which is always exciting. However, Regina just hates Brandon, and always pushes me to have bigger involvement in Becky's life than him, which is illogical since he's her dad before I came along, but that doesn't mean I'm not doing my best to be a father figure to her. So, Becky's sweet 16th birthday was days ago. Brandon couldn't attend due to work, but he came over and gave Regina the gift he brought for Becky, which was an expensive bracelet, and asked her to hold on to it till Becky's birthday party to give it to her, and say it was from her dad. Regina said okay, and he left. I was sitting nearby when they had this conversation. Regina then said she was planning on telling Becky that the bracelet her dad got her was from her. I said no, that's wrong. And it's fair to Brandon and Becky if she ever finds out that Regina lied about the bracelet being bought by her. She said she won't find out, but I firmly stated if she tried this, I'll shut her down and tell Becky the truth. She gave me an I dare you look and went about her day. The party came, and when Becky started opening gifts, Regina handed her the bracelet and told her she bought it for her. I was shocked, as I didn't think she'd actually go through with her plan. Becky then asked about her dad's gift, and I flat out told her he already sent her this bracelet, and that her mom lied about buying it when it was Brandon who bought it. My in-laws and Becky's friends were stunned. Becky asked Regina to confirm, but Regina lashed out at me and denied till I showed them the receipt that came with the box, and it was under Brandon's name. Regina threw it, but I retrieved it from the trash. Becky started arguing with Regina, and left the room crying, and the party was pretty much over. I literally got yelled at by Regina and her parents, calling me awful for causing drama and accusing Regina of theft and exposing her in front of Becky and her friends. Regina guilted me for not playing along and siding with Brandon against her, and she told me to stop advocating for this guy like we were buddies. I said poor guy did nothing wrong, and didn't deserve to be alienated from his daughter. Becky hasn't spoken to Regina ever since. It is waiting for her dad to come to visit, and Regina isn't talking to me, but me and Becky are good. Am I the a-hole? Did I mess up? Time to answer some questions / add more information. 1. Regina says my friendship with Brandon is weird. It always seemed to be looking for a reason to start an argument between me and him. But he's a good guy. 2. My sister-in-law told me this rivalry Regina has started when Brandon's now wife came into the picture. But most fights are between Regina and Brandon, not his wife. 3. The reason for Regina and Brandon's divorce is, according to Regina, is about infidelity on Brandon's part. Not sure about this, but it's what I've been told by her in-laws. Not a-hole. After reading this, I seriously question why you would be with someone like Regina. If I were OP, I would definitely be doubting Regina's accounts for her past marriage, the reasons for their divorce, and pretty much everything else she told him. Not a-hole. Regina is. She will never find out. Does she think Brandon will never ask Becky if she liked the bracelet he got her? Your wife is a piece of work. This is a good question. But because Regina's lied about stuff in the past, she was probably counting on he said versus she said type of scenario to make Brandon out to be a liar. I've seen the scenario play out several times before, and I know how it ends. You're the a-hole, because you could have solved this before it became a problem. I know you wanted to give your wife the benefit of the doubt, but from your other replies, you have known for a while now that Regina will make up lies about Brandon. You knew she was going to lie, and she told you she was going to lie. By letting the situation play out, you exposed to Becky's friends to the fact that her own mother would lie to her face. She must be so embarrassed that they know that. And while she doesn't blame you, you could have quietly called Brandon and said, "Look, Regina's planning on taking credit for your gift." Call Regina. Say you changed your mind and give it to her before the party while in FaceTime or Zoom or something. Then he gets credit. And no dirty laundry is aired out publicly, and there's no issues with you and your wife. The kid is old enough to see what her mother is capable of. It was a hard moment for sure, but she saw who her mother is. He could have waited until after the party to tell the truth and minimize the impact on the party. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for unloading in therapy in front of my younger half-siblings? Me, my dad's wife, his wife's sons, and their 3 kids together are all in family therapy. I'm 17 female. My dad decided family therapy was the way to go because I refused to integrate into the family when I moved here 2 years ago following my mom's death. My dad moved away from me after he and my mom decided to divorce for good. They were on and off until I was 5, and then he just up and moved away one day. The next time I saw him, which was 5 months later, he was living with his wife. Her sons are a year older and younger than me respectively, and they thought it would be great, and that it would be so easy to make a family out of kids as young as us. But I was bitter. My dad was gone. He used to show up to pick me up from school on Fridays, and he would take me to computer coding for kids. And then he was gone. I saw him a few weeks every year, and he called, but it never sat right with me that he left me for them, or even that he left to escape my mom. He could have lived closer, 1 or 2 hours. Instead, he moved 32 hours away. Dad always knew I resented him, and he would tell me not to. We fought a few times because I didn't make the effort to bond with the boys, or that his kids with his wife. And when she tried to get close to me, I would tell her I was there to see my dad, and not her. I told him he should move back if he wanted things to get better. Then my mom died unexpectedly. She had struggled with some issues for a while, but I thought things were okay. So he moved me out to him, and told me it was our chance to get our relationship back on track. But I held it all in, all the anger and bitterness. They started therapy almost 2 years ago, but I didn't want to be there, not with them. Then last week it all came out. The therapist told me that if I wanted to leave, I should wait outside. Dad told me to sit down and take part because that's what they were all there for, to make our family work. And I snapped. I unloaded every single thing that session. 40 minutes of me saying how much I hated my dad for leaving, how this wasn't my family, that I didn't care about his kids, stepkids, or wife, that it was about him and me. And when he left me behind for them, he sealed the fact I would never want a single thing to do with whatever family made after leaving me. It was intense. I cried. I raged. And when it was over, I was piled on by my dad, his wife, and her oldest son for saying all that in front of the younger kids. Then my dad told the therapist we weren't going back because he didn't have a freaking clue what he was doing. These last few days, he has been different. All attempts to bond are gone, and now he's just furious I said all that in front of 3 kids under the age of 10. And his wife goes between mad and hurt that I don't care about her, even though she tried to be a family member to me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. That is what therapy is for. He forced you to participate, which you did. It does sound like you have a lot of stuff to work out, though. Are you going to therapy on your own? You might benefit a lot from that. No, I'm not. He didn't want me to work on solo therapy and give nothing to family. I'll look into therapy once I'm out on my own. That way, can't decide anything about it. It'll be all on me. Maybe after this last family therapy session, he has evolved on the individual therapy front. You should ask. He's done trying now, I think. Hearing exactly how I feel, I think we'll be writing it out until I leave, which is exactly what I want. Not stay home. That's what he wanted when he brought you to therapy. It was a bad idea to have a huge group of people in a therapy session like that. You need to talk to a therapist one-on-one, and your therapist should have arranged that. You should see if you can go back to therapy on your own. The therapist did make the suggestion a couple of times, but my dad was never on board. He didn't want me putting effort into solo therapy and giving nothing to the group still. I'm going to disagree with pretty much everyone here. OP, you're the a-hole. However, your dad and stepmother, to a lesser extent, are also the a-holes. You have admitted that you have no desire to improve your relationships. This is childish and immature. You are 17, not 12. I absolutely believe that you lashed out in therapy to punish your father. You wanted to hurt your stepmom and siblings to punish your father. This is not okay. I'm not saying your feelings are not justified. I am saying you are hurting everyone around you to hurt your father. And in the end, you will be the one regretting it. At least they can all say they tried. You will never have to say that because you never will try. You are so mad at your father that you have gone Armageddon on your entire family and you are proud of it. Be mad at your father forever. But at your age, you need to take responsibility for your own actions. And your behavior towards the rest of your family is atrocious. You do not have to have a relationship with them if you do not want to. However, using your very young siblings as pawns to hurt your dad is disgusting. You do not get to blame your father for that. It is on you, and you will have to live with the consequences. It is time to grow up. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my 19 female daughter she will have to move out of my house if I get divorced because of her lies after her stepdad saw her naked? Original post. Throwaway account due to the situation. But I need to know because I'm getting calls and texts from family accusing me of being an a-hole for not being on my daughter's side. My husband and I have been married for a little over 5 years now. I will say my daughter 19 female and he have an okay relationship. Not exactly father and daughter, but more of an advice ask and given type of relationship. I have never picked up on anything weird from my husband toward my daughter, and my daughter has never said or insinuated anything either. On Thursday, my husband and I were watching a movie in the living room. We paused the movie when he got up to use the bathroom. I heard him knocking on the door twice, literally 3 knocks each time, a couple of seconds apart. It was loud enough for me to hear from the living room. The next moment, I heard screaming. I rushed to the bathroom and saw my daughter completely naked, covering herself and yelling at my husband to get out. I didn't see everything that happened, but what I saw after hearing the yelling was my husband literally falling over his own feet and struggling to get the bathroom door closed. I asked my husband what happened and he said he knocked. Nobody answered, so we went in and saw my daughter naked in front of the mirror. He said to try to get out as quickly as possible. After my daughter calmed down, I asked her side of the story. She said she was changing and all of a sudden, my husband walked into the bathroom. I asked her why she didn't answer when he knocked. She said he didn't knock. I told her I heard him knock, so I was sure he did. She then admitted she didn't hear it because she had her AirPods on and was listening to music. We sorted the situation out, and my husband apologized to her, explaining that he thought the bathroom was empty. She even gave him a hug and apologized for yelling at him. The problem now is that my daughter got family members involved, and they are now calling my husband a creep. I got a call from my sister berating me for still having my husband in the house. I asked what she meant, and it came out that my daughter spun a whole other story. She left out the fact that she was listening to music with her AirPods and told everyone that she answered him, but he still walked into the bathroom to look at her. We have cameras in our hallway that prove my husband knocked. You can see it on the video, but the cameras have no audio. I sat my daughter down and asked her about it. She denied saying anything like that or telling anyone. I got mad and asked, "Then how does your aunt know what happened?" She went silent. She admitted she talked to my niece about it, and my niece must have told her mother. I asked her why she lied about what happened and made my husband look bad when he did nothing wrong. She denied lying about anything, but I told her what my sister said. She started crying and apologized, saying she was just talking and making up scenarios with her niece. Yesterday, I got calls and texts from family members as the wrong story spread. My husband is now looking like a creep to everyone. I sat my daughter down again and had her read some of the things being said about my husband. I told her she has to fix this because her lying caused it. She refused, saying she didn't spread this and only told her cousin. She also doesn't want to say anything to anyone because they'll think badly of her. She said, they know my husband and this will just blow over. Everything blew up when my husband walked into the living room with his bags packed and said he's going to stay with his parents for a while because he doesn't want to be in this situation anymore, where he's made out to be this kind of person. My daughter broke down, apologized repeatedly, and said she would fix it, but my husband still left. I told her that if I get divorced because of her lies, she will be moving out of my house. I told her she better fix what she did and tell everyone what really happened because I will not lose a man who loves and actually cares for me over lies. She asked me to help her and I told her no. She isn't a child anymore, and her lies for attention caused this. This is on her. Now I'm being accused of taking my husband's side and not providing a safe space for my daughter. I don't know what to do. My husband asked for space, my daughter is inconsolable, and I am not in the best state myself. Now for the comments before reading the update. Extremely distressing for your husband. I would take your daughter, drive to the niece's house, sit down with the niece and her mother, and make your daughter tell them the real story. After that, I would insist that the niece's mother call every single person she or they told and admit she was wrong. If your daughter refuses, kick her out. For every person who said anything about your husband, cut them out of your life unless they apologize to him in person. She said she was lying, but for all I know, she's lying now. Her mom is making her say it's a lie. Why has the husband moved out if it was just a mistake? No matter what she says now, people will still believe he's a creep. I hope she's happy. You're the a-hole. Door locks. Stop making assumptions. Who said I don't have locks on the doors? Is it my fault my daughter didn't use the freaking lock on the door? You're the a-hole if you choose a man over your daughter. So I should choose my daughter who lied for attention, or some reason I don't really know, especially over something like this, over a man that has done nothing but love me and cared for us both without asking for anything in return? Yes and no. Your daughter needs therapy. Something caused her to lie and create this chaos. If you kick her out, you could lose her for good, or she could really spiral out of control. Your husband did nothing wrong since you heard him knocking even though the video has no sound. I honestly think therapy for her individually, along with family therapy, will probably work in time. Nobody can say with 100% accuracy if it will, but it's worth trying. I know many are downvoting me, but honestly, I don't care. I just strongly feel that everything that can be done to help your daughter should come first. I will sound selfish now, I know that, but I don't care. My husband comes first now. My marriage comes first. Trying to fix what she broke comes first, not her. Especially since she refuses to help fix what she broke. Actions have consequences, and again, I will be called a bad mother, but she's going to learn this lesson the hard way. Now for the update over a week later. Sorry for only updating now, but I'm not in the best place at the moment, and it has taken me a couple of days to get my thoughts together. I don't know what to do anymore. My husband has asked for a divorce. First, let me answer a couple of questions I saw coming up repeatedly. Locks. We have locks on every door in the house. I don't know why my daughter didn't use the lock on the bathroom door. Cameras. The cameras inside the house aren't pointed at any door, except for the ones at the front and back doors. The other camera is at the end of the hall, and you can see every door in the hallway from that camera. Bathroom. We have a bathroom in our bedroom, but we can't use it at the moment because the water is shut off due to renovations. On Friday, my husband came back home and asked to talk. During our conversation, he showed me his phone, and some of the things my family members were saying about him were outright horrible. Calling him a pedo, asking him how many times he had peeked before. I don't recognize my family anymore. I understand if he had actually done something wrong, but he hasn't. The hatred they are showing over a stupid mistake? tells me they refuse to listen, or they have hated him from the start and are now using this to try and get rid of him. He said he can't ever come back, and that this has now started to affect his work life as well. He was called into HR to explain himself, because some of my family members had called his office. Luckily, his employer hasn't taken any action and refuses to do anything unless a case is brought against him. They know my husband very well, and I think they believe him because he is still working. During our talk, he explained that he does love me and is happy I stood up for him, but my daughter's actions have caused too many problems, accusations, and fears. He said he has been sitting at the office and at his parents' home every day, just waiting for the police to show up and arrest him. He said her lies broke him, and he can't see a way to come back from this. I asked him to reconsider and suggested counseling, but he refused, saying everything is too broken to fix. I told him I would kick my daughter out and explained everything I had done to address the situation. However, he said I'm missing the point. His life could have been completely ruined because of a lie. My family will never trust him again and will always harbor hatred or suspicions about him. Now that my daughter wants to clear things up so long after the fact, they will think we forced her to do it, which will just make things worse. He said he will always remain the creep in their eyes. I told him we could cut off my family and move away. I showed him my phone and the messages I sent to every single person who refused to listen, and I told him I blocked them. He asked about my daughter. I said I would kick her out and she could stay with my parents. He asked if, after we moved away, I would abandon my daughter completely, because he doesn't want to be near her or alone with her at all. I didn't know how to respond. Before I could answer, he said again that it's better for us to get divorced. He said, I will never ask you to abandon your daughter. I will never expect you to do something like that. But I don't want her anywhere near me. If you abandon your daughter, I don't know if I could ever look at you the same afterwards, even if it was for my sake. The only solution here is for us to get divorced. At that moment, my daughter came running down the hallway into the living room, crying. I think she had been listening to our conversation. Before she could say anything, my husband jumped up from the couch, put his hands out, and asked her not to come near him. He said, before you say anything, I will start recording the conversation now, and took out his phone. I think I saw something break in my daughter's eyes at that moment as the realization of everything hit her all at once. She asked my husband to forgive her and said she never meant for things to get so out of hand. She explained she was just making up scenarios with her cousin, and her cousin ran with it. My husband asked her why she didn't clear it up immediately. She said she didn't think it would go this far and thought it would just blow over because everyone knows him. He showed her his phone and asked her to read some of the messages. My daughter went completely silent. We talked for about 4 hours. At the end, my husband said he would give us 3 months to move out of the house because it is his house. He said my daughter could keep the car because it was a gift and that he would finish paying this year's tuition but would not pay anything going forward. He said he hasn't gotten a lawyer yet but told me to get one. He would like to handle the divorce without lawyers, but if I want one, I can get one. He said he would be fair in the divorce and doesn't harbor anything against me, but he can't stay in the relationship. My daughter was sitting on the floor, looking like a ghost. I couldn't say anything while listening to him talk about divorce and splitting assets as if the last 5 years were nothing. The best way to describe it is like he was returning something to a store. He left the house and I just sat on a couch. I don't know if I was crying, talking, or what. I can't remember much, as everything felt muffled. Then my daughter started crying, saying, sorry, 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 over and over while lying on the floor. When I got up, I saw my husband's car still in the driveway. I looked out the window and saw him crying in the car. Seeing that completely broke me. My daughter and I haven't talked since Friday. My family members have shown up at the house to apologize because my daughter has now cleared everything up and even shared a video from the camera with them. Every time they show up, I just close the door in their faces. I've been getting Facebook messages, Instagram messages, calls, and texts. When I block them, they create new accounts or use different numbers. I don't want to lose my husband. I really don't. This is the first man I've ever met who has treated me with kindness, respect, and love, and now it's all over. I've tried to talk to him and convince him to go to counseling, but every time I try, he responds, I can't take the risk. I've tried to meet him in person, but he says it wouldn't be a good idea. I've gone to his parents' house, but they refused to let me see him. I've gone to his work, but I was told he was sent home by his boss. I don't know how to fix this. Having my daughter move out won't work because I need to move out of the house as well. I don't want anything from my husband, I just want him. I haven't talked to a lawyer yet, but I don't think I can keep the house. He owned it before we moved in. I really want to fix this. I still want to kick my daughter out of the house, but would he still give me a chance to fix it, even after what he said about me abandoning my daughter and not seeing me the same afterwards? Am I really going to lose a wonderful man? Edit. I forgot how Reddit fixates on one thing. Regarding the house, I have no intentions of trying to take his house or anything like that. It's not my house. I had questions in my previous post about the house, and I think I just answered them here. I am not going to try to take his house. He owns it and has owned it since before we got together. I have no right to the house and will not try to take it. I hope this clears it up. Quite simply, you can't fix this. What your daughter did is absolutely horrendous. She has ruined your soon-to-be ex-husband's reputation and your relationship with one lie. Stop visiting him at work. Stop trying to contact him. Just stop. As hard as this is for you, it's even harder for him. The more you reach out, violating his boundaries, the more likely he is to build resentment. If you're unable to respect his wishes regarding contact, it's no wonder your daughter has boundary issues. Focus on rebuilding your and your daughter's lives from scratch, without him. Get therapy for your daughter so she learns to be better. Right now, she's a dumpster fire. It sounds like he is going to be very kind to you in the divorce. Exactly. Opie needs to leave this poor man alone. And leave him alone for good. He doesn't deserve all this drama. What is happening with your sister and her daughter? Is your niece showing remorse? Are there going to be consequences for her actions? Do you think your family will reach out to your husband's company to apologize for their stupidity? I'm sorry, Opie. I wish people understood how false allegations can ruin a person's life. Your daughter and niece's stupidity and callous behavior destroyed a family, a marriage, your relationship with your daughter, and your relationship with family members. They are completely silent. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my mom to Christmas dinner after what she did last year? I'm 34 years old and a mom of 2 little kids. Last year, during Christmas dinner, my mom 65 caused a big scene. She showed up with several bottles of wine, even though we all knew she's in treatment for alcohol issues. At first, everything was fine, but halfway through dinner, she started criticizing my husband, 37, in front of everyone. She mocked his job and said it wasn't good enough for her daughter. I tried to calm her down, but after a few minutes, she started bad-mouthing me too, saying I had been a disappointment as a daughter. My kids, who are 7 and 4, were there listening to everything. It was so humiliating, we had to ask her to leave. This year, I decided not to invite her to avoid a similar drama, but my sister of 40 is furious with me. She says it's cruel to leave her alone on Christmas and that I should give her another chance. My husband supports my decision, but the rest of my family is making me feel like the villain. Am I the bad one for protecting my family's peace and not inviting her? Now for the comments. Your sister is free to spend Christmas with her, but you're wise not to. Your kids come first, not your alcoholic mother. She doesn't get to ruin another holiday for them. They don't need those kinds of memories. Not a-hole. Exactly. Inviting her over again will just lead to another ruined holiday. Protect your peace and your children. Your sister can host her if she really wants to. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. My mom did something similar to my sister last Christmas. She got very drunk and screamed at her over something trivial in front of her 2 young kids, 3 and 5. My sister cut her off completely after that, and I don't blame her for a second. It shouldn't just be Christmas where your mom isn't welcome. She shouldn't be in Opie's kids' lives at all, until she's been sober for a year. Opie's husband shouldn't have to deal with her either, not until she's been sober for a year and apologizes to him for being disrespectful. Not the a-hole. I am a substance abuse therapist. This is a boundary you need to put in place to protect yourself and your family, as well as to send a message that you won't tolerate her poor choices and behavior. Love her from a distance. Time can heal these wounds, but she needs to prove to you that she will stay clean and sober, and she needs to rebuild that trust. Update. I found out the actual reason my mom lost custody of me, and I don't know if I can ever look at her again. Original post. I was removed from my mother's care by DCFS when I was 11 years old due to allegations of SA post against my stepfather. He was convicted by those crimes, but took a plea deal which meant he'd be out by the time I was 13. And from what I can remember, I don't even know that he served those 2 full years anyway. I was his primary victim. I don't remember how old I was when it started, but the earliest he admitted to was when I was 8. I don't know if my mom knew before DCFS got involved or if she found out afterwards, but now I don't think it would have mattered to her if she was aware. After being put into temporary custody of the state while the legal issues were sorted out, eventually I was placed with a relative and her husband, who later adopted me when it was clear my mother wouldn't be getting me back. My adoptive parents put me in therapy, got me the help I needed, did everything they could to make me feel safe again. Something they never prevented me from was speaking to my mother. I was always able to call or text her, and she was always allowed to come visit me, but I could never go and see her. I didn't really question it as a kid. I assumed it was some stipulation the courts made. I believed growing up that the reason my mom hadn't gotten me back was because of neglect, I guess. I assumed that the court thought it was partly her fault, that I had been left unattended with that man so often, or that it took someone else noticing I was physically injured for something to be done about it. My adoptive parents never challenged these assumptions I had, and they always told me that they would never stop me from having a relationship with my mom, so long as that's what I wanted. Once I turned 18, my mom and I started talking more frequently, but we didn't see each other in person often. I never really thought much of it at first, but as the years went by, I started questioning the circumstances of my removal and subsequent adoption. I was confused as to why a woman with no prior issues with the law would have had her child taken from her in such a cut and dry way. I decided to ask my adoptive parents about it, and they very gently informed me that my mother was told that in order for her to regain custody of me, her husband, my abuser, would be required to leave the home and could not under any circumstances come near me. Not only because he was an offender, but because I was the victim. My mother evidently could not meet these conditions, and so I was adopted by my relatives. When I worked up the courage to ask my mom if it was true, she didn't deny it. She told me she loved him, that he was a good man who made a mistake. They said that she could have her daughter or she could stay with her husband, and she chose him. She picked him over me. I don't even know what to do with the things I'm feeling now. I feel sick just thinking about it. She's my mother and she knew what he did. He was convicted of sexually abusing her 11-year-old child, and she refused to leave him. For the past 12 years, she has willingly slept in a bed next to the man that assaulted her daughter. She has stayed married to the man who hurt me. My adoptive parents said they were advised by the therapist to let me figure it out in my own time, as my mother, despite picking that man over me, never made any move to have me near him again. She just wasn't willing to make him leave so that I could be with her. Evidently, the therapist thought it would be more detrimental in the long run to keep me from communicating with my mother entirely. None of that makes me feel better. The past few days have felt like a nightmare. I don't understand how she could stay with him. I don't understand why she chose a monster over her child. I'm trying to understand why my adoptive parents didn't tell me, but to be honest, I don't really understand their reasoning either. My mom has been texting me, but I haven't answered. I can't even think about her without feeling nauseous, or so angry I want to cry, or both. My adoptive parents keep checking in on me, but I've only answered the phone for them because I don't want them to drive here out of concern. I really don't even know what to do anymore. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Your adoptive parents consulted with medical professionals on how to deal with this. They took that advice because they didn't want to cause you more harm and because they love you. They were putting you first because you were their priority over their own feelings. How do I know that? Because I had a family member in a similar situation. It ripped them to pieces every time their child had contact with a parent that refused to protect them, knowing that child was being harmed repeatedly. Everything your adoptive parents did, they did it out of love for you, no matter how hard it was on them. I will be honest, I don't understand people like your mother. Children should be protected at all costs. At the very least, you need time and distance from her. You may be able to forgive her, but don't trust her. If it were me, that relationship would be over. If you're not in counseling still, then please find counseling. This is a horrendous thing to deal with, and just too hard for a person to do on their own. Sending good thoughts and wishes for your healing. Thank you. I really appreciate this perspective. I know they made choices for me based on what they thought would help me most in the end. This is just such an, I don't know, insane thing to try and process. I feel like I'm kind of losing it. I don't understand my mother either. I don't know how she's able to sleep at night knowing the things that man did. I can't wrap my mind around it. I do have a therapy appointment coming up soon, unrelated to this specific part of my situation, so I'm going to have professional help in dealing with this. I'm just feeling really lost and overwhelmed right now. One of the most disturbing things is that your mom calls her husband sexually assaulting you for years since you were 8 years old a mistake. Her husband made a mistake, and that's a profound level of delusional belief because it was his decision to violate you for years and only stopped because the authorities were involved. The crime is not a mistake, it's a planned, premeditated decision. I haven't been able to stop thinking about that part. The way she called it a mistake said that he is a good man. She dismissed it as though he didn't make a conscious choice to go into my bedroom every night for 3+ years, like it was an accident or somehow unintentional. The good man she's married to is a predator who will be on the registry for the rest of his life for the things he did to me. I assumed my mother would have loved me enough to at least acknowledge the severity of what my stepfather had done. Evidently, I was wrong. Are you mad at your adoptive parents for not letting you know you were sexually assaulted? What would you have preferred they do instead? As far as your mom, don't talk to her again because she clearly doesn't love you. I'm not mad at my parents. I'm just having a hard time processing their choice not to tell me my mother remained married to my abuser all these years. I've spent all this time trying to connect with her in some way. But if I had known that she had chosen over a decade ago to stay with a predator instead of get me back, I think I would have cut my losses much sooner. I don't really know how I feel about it right now, but I'm not really mad at them. I know they did their best. Also, they didn't have to inform me that I was abused. Believe me, I was/am very aware. Now for the update. I guess I wanted to write a little bit of an update. I didn't expect so many people to see the post. Honestly, I just needed to vent, and I didn't want to dump any of that on my friends or family. I had a therapy session earlier in the week, so I was able to bring this revelation up to my therapist, and we're going to work on ways to help me process this. That's obviously something that's going to take time, but I'm sure eventually I'll find a way to live with it. Right now, I still don't know how to unpack any of the feelings I have about this. I do understand why my adoptive parents went about it the way they did. In the moment, being given that information was just a lot to comprehend and deal with, and I felt betrayed. Not necessarily by them, but I think I did put some of those feelings onto them. That wasn't really fair, and I did try to apologize, but they aren't upset with me for it. They told me they felt I didn't have anything to be sorry for. They know firsthand how difficult this is for me, and they told me they were already expecting the reaction I had. My adoptive mom said that if she had been in my shoes, she would have been upset too, even if that feeling wasn't entirely directed at the right people. I did speak to them about how I felt and ask if they could tell me a little more about why they decided to handle it the way they did. They said that when they got custody of me and saw all the ways the trauma from my early childhood manifested, they wanted to do everything they could to make sure I would be able to grow up as cared for and well-adjusted as possible. When the therapist encouraged them not to tell me the truth or challenge my belief that I'd been removed from my mom because of neglect, they followed that advice. The doctors and my parents thought it was best for me to realize and understand my mother's choice on my own. They said I had already been failed by so many adults in my life who were supposed to protect me, and they didn't want to add to that list. My adoptive dad also mentioned wanting me to be able to enjoy at least part of my childhood without a revelation like that hanging over my head. Looking back on it all, I really appreciate that. I don't remember much of my childhood up until I was placed in my adoptive parents' custody, and what I can remember isn't great, but the childhood they gave me made up for that in spades. I know the choices my adoptive parents made for me were made with my best interest in mind. I love them, and I know everything they did was out of love for me too. I feel like people misinterpreted what I was saying in my last post about my feelings toward them, so I just wanted to clarify that part. Regarding my mother, I essentially told her that I wasn't interested in speaking again, given everything I know now. I don't know how she took it because I've since blocked her number. My parents have agreed to reiterate that message from me if she contacts them, but I don't think she will. I'm never reaching out to her again. I can't do it. I think part of me is always going to wonder why she did the things she did. But based on all the answers she's given to my questions so far, I'm not sure her honesty would be very helpful to me in the long run. Thank you for your words of encouragement and kindness. I really needed them in that moment, and I truly appreciate you all for it. Proud of you. I'm glad everything worked out. Keep your mom out of your life. Finally, we have a post where the kid's treating the adoptive parents with love and respect. I didn't read your first post until I saw this edit. I look at my precious 2-year-old and I really can't understand what parents wouldn't get rid of people who would hurt their precious one. I held my little one as a potato, saw him take his first steps, watch him develop and grow. My heart hurt earlier today when my toddler hit me unintentionally in the mouth and I yelled loudly in pain and saw his little lip quiver as he started to cry. I held him so tightly because even though he hurt me, he felt it more. I would get rid of anyone who hurt my son. I'd have to fight off any murderous rage. Your birth mom failed you massively. I'm glad you've got your adoptive family. Last story. Am I the a-hole for laughing when my mom said she'd hope I would care for my stepdad in his old age? For some context, my mom broke up our family when I was 6 and my brother was 11 to be with my stepdad. Our dad moved to a neighboring state, and we only got to see him every other weekend. I've only connected all these details as an adult. My brother and I are now both in our 30s, and my dad didn't share details of the divorce until the last few years. To say I lost a lot of respect for my mom and stepdad is an understatement. My mom chose to replace our dad with an angry alcoholic and thought we'd make a big happy family. Hint, it never happened. I forgive them, it was years ago, but the respect is gone. Growing up with them was stressful and like walking on eggshells. If I had a disagreement with my stepdad, my mom would come home and only talk to him about what happened before giving me a punishment. The day my brother graduated high school, he moved out. We both had nothing but disdain for my stepdad. He got drunk every single day and was mean. Not physically, but verbally. I'll never forget being called a whore for going on a date with my boyfriend or the time we followed a young woman to her home after she flipped us off on the road. After I became an adult and got married at a young age, our relationship improved. I've now been married for almost 13 years, and we have 2 little girls together. When my stepdad comes to our house, we get along great. When we went back to their home for Thanksgiving a few years ago, it was very stressful. Many parts of me felt like I was stepping back into high school again. Fast forward to a conversation I had with my mom recently. We were discussing children taking in their parents in their old age. Something I might add, my mom never did for my grandma after my grandpa died. Why? Because my stepdad couldn't live with her. None of her other 3 kids took her in either, and she managed okay, passing away in her own home with my mom and aunts at her side. Anyhow, we were discussing this subject and how many parents might be taken in by their children after their spouses pass away. For example, my mom coming to stay with us after my stepdad passes away, my mother-in-law, or my dad, etc. She said she hopes that if she passed away, I would consider taking my stepdad in if he were elderly. I actually laughed out loud before even considering how my reaction might hurt her feelings. First of all, even if it were my own dad, I would prefer to take in one of our moms if I'm going to be a primary caregiver. And of course, if we never actually took anyone into our home, we would still help and support them however we could. But my mom expecting this of me with my stepdad? What magical land is this where irony doesn't exist? I have never considered him a father figure. He played a huge role in breaking apart my family at a young age and refused to take in my terminally ill grandma when she needed it most. So am I the a-hole for laughing? How did she react? And how did she not know this man made your lives miserable under her roof? Her eyes widened in shock. I immediately said, "Sorry, didn't mean to laugh that loud, but we basically already called dibs on my mother-in-law." She changed the subject, thank God. And she knew we all hated each other. She dated him for 5 years before marrying him, and she had plenty of chances to prioritize her kids, but she never did. If she prioritized her kids, she would have honored her original vows to my dad. Opie, I think you need to take a serious look at your relationship with your mom. You say the relationships have gotten better after you moved out and got married. Isn't that because they can no longer control you the way they did when you were a child? Your mom clearly still does not respect you, and she won't even acknowledge the abuse they both perpetrated. They're better when they come to you, but when you got to their house, where they feel in control, they become abusive again. Why do you want your children to have a relationship with 2 abusers and 1 alcoholic? I strongly suggest getting some counseling to unpack your feelings about this. You say you forgave them, but did you really acknowledge your own feelings and hurts? Or did you just bury it all for the sake of keeping the peace? Forgiveness is not reconciliation. Do you have a daughter? What will you do when he calls her a whore? My mom and stepdad are not on the list of people who are allowed to watch our children, which frankly is a small opportunity because they don't live in our state. They've offered a few times to let my husband and me take a weekend trip, and we have declined. They also know that my husband's brother and sister-in-law are our kids' godparents. We also don't visit their house anymore because of the Thanksgiving experience. So far, it's working out, and they don't mind coming here. Generally, they're on their best behavior because other families always around with us. I might seek a counselor because, besides venting to my husband, I really don't know how to come to terms with how I feel about them after learning the whole truth about their relationship. I often think if my mom makes the wrong comment or pushes me too far one day, I might unload on her. No, you're not the a-hole. Given your history with him and your mom's request, it's understandable to laugh at something that feels so ironic. I agree, not the a-hole. Your mom's request is pretty out there considering the history between you and your stepdad. Honestly, she was pushing her luck even asking if you'd take her in. But to ask it for a man who is neither a blood relation nor a father figure and made your childhood miserable is absurd. Not the a-hole. At all. You deserve to keep your home a safe haven for yourself.